So, sixth graders, lesson 5.1, the first lesson in chapter 5. We're going to be working with fractions in this chapter. And the first concept we're talking about is when we look at a fraction, we want to be able to tell if it's closest to 0, 1/2, or 1 when determining when you're going to round it and use it in estimating. Okay? So, if you were going to estimate these two numbers, 6/13 plus 3 1/8, for example. Okay? To check if something is close to 1/2, you can divide the denominator by 2. So if you think of what is half of 13? Well, it's not an exact number because it's an odd number, right? It's not a whole number. It's 6.5. It's between 6 and 7 because 6 plus 6 is 12 and 7 plus 7 is 14. 13 is right in between those, right? Is 6.5 and 6, are they close together? Yeah. So 6/13 is really close to 1/2. Okay? So the best way to round 6/13 is to round it to 1/2. Does that make sense? The closest estimate between these three numbers would be 1/2. How about 3 1/8? Look at this example. Since we're going to add 3 1/8, should we leave this as 3? Or should we round it to 3 1/2? Or should we round it up to 4? Jacob?
The best option would be to leave it at 3.
Leave it at 3, right. Because 1/8 is not close to 1/2. It's not close to 1, it's closest to 0. Look, 8 divided by 2 is 4, right? If we divide the denominator by 2, you can find what half of 8 is. If we were to round this to 1/2, then the numerator should be close to half. And it's not. It's not that close. So, the best estimate is 0 for the fraction. And then, when we add 1/2, 6/13 rounds to 1/2, and 3 1/8 rounds to just 3. So the best estimate is 3 1/2. 6/13 again rounds to 1/2 because that's closest to 1/2. 3 1/8 would just round to 3 because the 1/8 being closest to 0. And so we get 3 1/2 as our best estimate. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
We're rounding the fraction portion to either 1/2 or 0 or 1. 1/8, if we look at the fraction 1/8, 1 out of 8 pieces is closest to 0. 1/8. We're looking at the top number compared to the bottom number. What would 1/2 be as in eighths?
4.
4/8, right? 4/8 is 1/2. 4 out of 8 is half. You get that? So 1 out of 8 is closest to 0. Okay? 1 out of 8 is closest to the number 0.
If it was 4/8, then it would be close.
Yeah, 4/8 is exactly half. 3/8 would be pretty close to 1/2 of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're looking at this number and deciding should we round it to just 3 Or should we round it to 3½ because the fraction is close to a half? Or should we round it all the way up to 1? For example, what if the fraction was 7/8? 7/8 would round up to 1, so 3 7/8 would round up to 4. Because you almost have another 1. Okay? So that's what we're doing with these fractions and rounding and things like that. Look at your sheet. I like how the worksheet has you look at these. Okay? We're going to look at each one and tell if it's closest to 0, 1, or 1/2. And then figure out the estimate. So the first one, 7/13. We just looked at 6/13, right? Is 7/13 close to a half? Yes. Yep. 7/13 is close to a half. So what is the best estimate of this number? Is it 5? Is it 5½? Or is it 6? Since 7/13 is close to a half, then the best estimate is 5½. So for 1, A, 5½. Number 2, 1 out of 6. What is the fraction closest to? 0, 1/2, or 1? 0. 1 out of 6 is pretty close to 0. Right? So 2 1/6 should be rounded to just 2. Because the fraction is close to 0. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
What would 3 be then? 9/17. Is that closest to 0, 1/2, or 1? 1? What if this was 18?
That would be 1/2.
What if this was 9/18? We're only changing this by one number. Would that be a half?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 9/17 is also close to 1/2. So what's the best estimate?
8.
Yeah, 7½. 9/17 is really close to 1/2. Okay? So finish this up. Do the rest of this on your own.
Just this.
Just this 1 through 15. Yep, and then put the letters in and see if you can get the word spelled.
I'm done.
Just finish it, okay? Why are you whispering? Then do the bottom section. Here's the answer. An educated guess. See if, check your letters.
Who didn't get that?
It's not your question. Did any of you have trouble with any of them? Any of them? Which one? 6/11. So 6/12 would be 1/2. That means 6/11 is also close to a half. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're talking about with estimating and rounding.